segment, I want to talk about whether or not it's a good idea to decriminalize or legalize all drugs. So not just marijuana. Sorry. Um, yeah. So just to start off, I'd like to present the what I think is the opposing argument, and well, it's often proposed to me as why we should legalize all these drugs, make it a felony, all that good stuff. And so it goes as forth. When you decriminalize a drug, you're discouraging people to take them. And so when you legalize one, you're actually encouraging people to take it because you're making the drug seem acceptable and reasonable. But what we see in practice is that this isn't the case, because what you're attempting to achieve by discouraging something is that you assume that when you discourage it, less people will use it. Now, this is absolutely not the case in just about any single example you can think of. For example, in the Netherlands, they have decriminalized drugs since the 2000s, and they have one of the lowest cannabis rates in Europe. In fact, it's more tourists that smoke weed than it is locals. And the same thing happened in Portugal, for example. Here I have an article that I'll link down below or put on the screen by creativecareinc.com. And it basically talks about what Portugal did, and that they decriminalized all drugs, so that includes methamphetamine to heroin. And ever since then, there's been a 60% decrease in drug usage nationwide, making it one of the lowest in Europe. Now, all of a sudden, this whole idea of criminalizing people that take drugs and making it seem like, oh, bad, all of a sudden that doesn't seem to work, because when you decriminalize it, people all of a sudden are using it less. Now, how does that work? I think there's quite a simple explanation to it. No addict doesn't become an addict because, oh, he went to prison for 2 years. Now he's like, oh, dude, what? Those drugs? No, those are bad. I don't want to do them. They're more psycho than they were before. Sorry, that's not a bad way of putting it. That's a bad way of putting it. Sorry. They probably developed even worse tendencies in prison than they would have if they stayed out. You know, and that's why I think by legalizing it, not only do you decrease the usage, as we've seen in Portugal and in the Netherlands, and even during the 1920s, during abolition, there was a huge surge in alcohol usage then. But you also, like in the 20s, you have a huge spike in gang crime. And that was part of the reason why they had to make alcohol legal again, because you had these criminals like Al Capone just running cities, having insane amounts of wealth, all because they traded alcohol, which was illegal at the time. And so the thing is that the difference between making a drug illegal and making like a murder illegal is that when you prosecute a murderer, there will be less murderers. The difference is when you take out a drug lord or supplier of drugs, there will not be any less drugs. Because the demand is always going to be there, whereas a murder, like somebody that has sociopathic tendencies or psychotic tendencies, there's a certain limit to the amount of people that there are that have those tendencies. And the whole reason why these illegal substances have crimes and gangs that surround them is because they're not protected by public services like the police. They have to resort to these violent, threatening ways that keep their system going. And the second you take that away from them, the second that they can rely on the police, they can, obviously I'm not saying the people that distribute it illegally should be those that distribute it legally, but I'm saying there's no more reason to buy them illegally, as long as obviously they're at a decent price. I'm not saying you should put it on every pharmacy shelf either, but I'm saying you should make it available and not criminalize it, and as a result, not only will you have less people taking it, but you also have less crimes in between, because every year we lose thousands of people fighting the drug war. And for what? Because the result of you locking up one or two drug suppliers isn't gonna change the trade at all. In fact, it's gonna stay the same. It might even go up. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. No matter what police, whatever, no matter what law enforcement does, it won't really change the amount of drugs in your country. I mean, look, there since '94, I don't think there's been hardly a change in the drug use, as in terms of the proportion of Americans that do drugs. And at the same time, it's also a big part of racial injustice in that they in the '94 bill smartly decided that it would be better to prosecute people that do crack cocaine, a drug that was predominantly used in African American neighborhoods, with a much heftier sentence than they decided to prosecute those with other types of cocaine. Like, that's just absolute stupidity. And when you decriminalize it, you achieve what you intend to when you illegalize it, when you make it a felony. And at the same time, you're saving lives of both citizens and of law enforcement. So I see it as a win-win-win-win. And you also get to help those that are in need of help. You get to see who buys it. You get to regulate it a lot better. And also, you won't have all these overdoses where you have, I don't know, cocaine laced with a bunch of weird stuff inside it, and then the guy dies. I mean, this stuff happens all the time because it's illegal. There's no oversight. And once you are able to, once you legalize and you have oversight, it'll become much safer for all parties involved. And I think that's a good thing. And I don't think this perception that, oh, the whole world will just start becoming addicts is true, because from all the examples, from all the countries that have done it, there's been almost no surge in usage, especially in the mid long term.